Hello, Guilty Feminists. This is Deborah. Very exciting news. We are doing a very exciting show in London with the Nerve News, who provide a brilliant journalist service. Carol Cadwallader from the Nerve News is coming on to talk about the Epstein files, and many of you will know her journalist on this has been peerless. She is bringing on Lucia Osborne Crowley, who has written widely about the survivors, many of whom she knows personally. And her books include My Body Keeps Your Secrets and The Lasting Harm, Witnessing the Trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. This is a show not to be missed. It will be on the 30th of April at Leicester Square Theatre. If you would like to see more about these and other shows, go to guiltyfeminist.com and click on live shows. Get your tickets now before they all go. I'm a feminist, but when I found out that Jane Austen was coming off the banknote and instead a hedgehog was going on, because that's what's happening in our country, all of the public figures are coming off the banknotes, Winston Churchill, Jane Austen, whoever, and instead they're putting on woodland creatures. Some people have called this woke. I don't see how a badger is woke. I don't understand it. They change them every 10 years. Winston Churchill's only been on for 10 years. You can imagine what the reform voters are saying about it's the women who forced Winston Churchill. No, he's only been on there for 10 years, and his family have come out and said, we only expected him to be on there for 10 years. No one's on for longer. We're fine with it. This isn't woke. There's nothing wrong with it, and it wouldn't matter if it were. But when I heard that Jane Austen was coming off the tenor, and being replaced by a hedgehog, I only had one question. Is the hedgehog female?
Yeah, I'm a feminist, but I recently stopped talking mid-conversation because I was worried that my levels of excitement was making my voice sound shrill. I self-silenced myself, so sad. Have I gone too harsh? Have I made you sad?
You self-silenced yourself because you've considered yourself shrill?
Yeah, I was like, calm down, Heidi. No one needs to hear this.
Wow.
Have I misunderstood the brief? Are we meant to make it fun?
No. No, you just sound like David Cameron talking to a woman. You know when he said...
That's what I try to embody
calm
usually.
Down, dear. Yeah. You self-censored. Did you then, and this is the thing that I find funny, that when I do something like that, I'm a feminist, but then I beat myself up for having been patriarchal and internalised misogyny.
Yes.
So that's a kind of double whammy. Then I judge myself for my own and then feel worse about myself.
I gave myself a real talking to when I got home. So. Don't worry, I was very sad.
I'm a feminist, but I've definitely said I'm fine while internally thinking I suspect I'm dying. I'm definitely dying. It's clear to me I'm dying, but I must not complain.
I feel that's very on brand for tonight's
It's very
topic.
on brand.
Yeah.
It's very on brand, yeah.
I'm a feminist and a lesbian, but... Thank you, yes, the end. Need to come back up after the last one. I'm a feminist and a lesbian, but I was recently at a party where a door got jammed and a man had to kick it open with his foot, and it was one of the most arousing things I've seen in a long time. And I'm not sure why.
Wow.
And I gave myself a talking to.
Was the talking to arousing at this point?
It was very arousing.
I've had a moment like that where
so you had to kick down a door.
No, but I saw. I mean, this person is like a brother to me, so this didn't. But I saw. So I'll just tell you what the story is. Some of you will know that my husband and I, about 8 years ago, someone who we met as a Syrian refugee who didn't have at that time anywhere to live, just came and minded our cats while we were on holidays. Anyway, long story short, he still lives with us. And very early on, because he was in the Calais jungle refugee camp, he was the firefighter because it's all made of wood. The only source of heat or to cooking is a fire. So often it would, there'd be fires. So he would have to sleep in his fireman's outfit, and he would someone would bang on the thing and say there's a fire, and he would jump on the top of his little shelter, and then he would see where the smoke was coming from. Then he'd get in his little fire truck. I was saying little, I mean big fire, medium-sized fire truck, and he would zoom around, and then they'd make fire breaks, and they'd do what they could with the water they had and all of that sort of stuff. He's a very tall, handsome Syrian man and very charismatic. And one time, very early on, when he was staying with us, I said, you should come to hot yoga with me. It's really good. You know, he had a lot of, injuries and things from the journey. And so I said, oh, yoga's really good. And so he started coming to yoga with me. We went to hot yoga together. And we were in this hot yoga class. And above us, it was all like these infrared packs or something to make the room hot. And one of them burst into flames. And the yoga teacher, and this is a North London yoga class, the yoga teacher just screamed and went, oh, I don't know what to do. And she ran out of the class to get somebody, leaving us in a burning, already overly hot yoga class. And people just ran from the fire to the wind. And Steve, he just so casually, because fire was, he put out a lot of proper real fires that have really burnt people. And this was like a fire in a ceiling in a North London yoga class. He was so casual about it. And he was right underneath it. And he just said to someone, there was a towel there, and he just said, can I use this towel? And they went, yeah. This woman, yeah. And he just picked up the towel, put it around his fist, really casual, like super, super casual. And then he leapt to the ceiling and punched the fire in the face and put it out with one punch and just landed, gave the towel back to the person, went back into downward facing dog. And everyone in that room, like there were proper straight men in that room, because straight men do go to yoga, for hot yoga. They don't go to regular yoga, but they go to hot yoga because it feels like manly, doesn't it? And go to sweat. Everybody in that room just went, like there was a sort of, for me, I was just like proud of him as like my brother, sort of, but everyone else I could see, they just went, there is something about somebody kicking open a door in an emergency or punching a fire in the face.
Yeah.
That is...
It's very primal and very sexy.
Did it make you think you might be bisexual?
I am kind of bisexual, so yeah, I wasn't questioning things. I was just going, what a great show.
I'm a feminist, but if a man says he has a headache, I'm like, take the day off. And if I'm hemorrhaging, I'm like, I can still make that 3 p.m.
Again, very on brand, yes.
Very on brand for the show.
I'm a feminist, but... For some reason, I seem to have about 80% of my friends now men, and I've realised recently about 80% of my day-to-day conversations are about men's mental health. And like, it's ironic, but it's happening so much. I'm like, I think I'm just starting to think like this now. So That's my life now. They're lovely boys, but I'd love some feminine input in my life, or to talk about my mental health.
I can certainly call you at 8 a.m. every morning and tell you what's going on inside my brain. If you feel it would balance the day out.
Let's try it for a week and then see how I feel.
She's not answering that phone. You just know that correctly. Live from the Bloomsbury Theatre in London, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Heidi Regan, and our very special guests, Sanju Pal and Tulip Siddiq, talking about endometriosis. Hello, 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 hello. Hi. How lovely to see so many of you. This show sold out really, really quickly, implying to me that a lot of people here have endometriosis. Is that the case? Yeah. I feel like, because as soon as we said it was an endometriosis show, every ticket sold. And I was like, wow. We've done shows on endometriosis before, but this is a really special one because there has been a landmark case and there's also just been a debate in Parliament. Very, very important things are going on. So we're very excited to have you. Just give us a cheer if you've been to The Guilty Feminist before. Woo! Give us a cheer if you listen to The Guilty Feminist at home. Woo! Give us a cheer if you don't know what you're at. Okay. Just one person. Have you been brought by a friend? Yeah. Yes? Why did they tell you to come? It's about endometriosis. I see. So you are here specifically to see endometriosis. That won't happen for a little while. There's a few things first, but welcome. If you don't know what you're at, this is a podcast recording, and so we are recording this. This will go out onto the internet. So if you do a laugh, you can hear it later. You can be like, oh my God, that's my laugh. If you ask a question in the Q&A portion, you'll be able to, oh my God, that's me talking into the microphone. So it's well worth laughing for that reason, just for your own posterity. When many years from now, 100 years from now, somebody, your great-granddaughter, will be going, oh, I think that's great-granny's laugh at the Bloomsbury Theatre. I think she's asked a question about endometriosis. Of course, that's all long gone now. That's been completely cured. As well as, gosh, that's really gone home to some people, hasn't it? Yes, and it's completely cured. On the downside, I am living on a raft in the middle of the ocean with an AI assistant. But other than that, haven't seen another human being for 40 years. But apart from that, things are going really, really well for me. Listen, we don't know what's going to happen, but we change what we can as we can. And I'm feeling quite hopeful at the moment because I went on the march on Saturday, the Together Alliance march. Did anyone come on the march? It was a really amazing time, and it really made me feel that there were so many people in this country that want it to be fairer and kinder and more representative. And it was a march, if you don't know about it, it was called the Together Alliance March. And you could be anybody, you could be an individual, you could be the Boy Scouts, you could be a church group, you could be a feminist group, you could be an activist group. The only thing you had to agree on was that we do not want the far right taking over our country, bringing bigotry, turning the clock back 60 years, making it a great place for billionaires and a terrible place for everybody else. And we marched together, and it was just really, really beautiful walking through parts of London you can normally only drive. And I didn't see any... I think the fascists didn't really dare come out because there was 500,000 of us in the end. It did take us we were standing for 2.5 hours before we were allowed to take off. So that's the only thing, if you do have endometriosis, that might have been a bit outside your skill set. So you had to go and have a little coffee. We ended up having a little coffee, but in a place where we could see the march, so that when it started going, we could just run out and we're marching, we're marching, we're marching. We didn't stop for coffee. We are not fair weather feminists. I didn't just have a bun. But it was Park Lane as well, because that's where it started. It's not like we're fancy marchers. That is where it started. We were told our particular group had to stand out the front of, what was the really fancy hotel on Park Lane? Dorchester, that's right. We had to, I don't even know it, I'm so down to earth. I've never been in such an establishment. I stood there with my eyes open, looking up. There were wealthy people coming out onto the balcony to look down at us, going, this is not what we were promised. There's a lot of chanting and dissatisfied poor people down there. We're up here, but this is why you have the balcony as a 1%er. You have the balcony so that you can look down and say, thank God I'm not there, waiting 2.5 hours without a bun to take off. But once we took off, it was still a great feel. It felt like a bit of a street party. And then once we took off and we marched all the way to Trafalgar Square, and, the, of course, double advantage of getting my steps in. And it was really, really, really wonderful. So if you haven't joined this time, but you'd like to come another time, I think the Together Alliance is the best march you can go on because it feels so inclusive and everybody's there with their own feelings and agendas, but that's the one thing that we felt so united. And I do feel like now is the time when we need to come together and we need to say we can disagree on lots of things, or we can have lots of different focuses, or our feelings about something. We might be working on our thing, someone else is working on their thing. That's not our priority, this is our priority. But the one thing we can agree on is that our country will not be workable or livable, and our globe will not be workable or livable if we let the far right sweep through it and take away everything that is kind and compassionate and fair and connected, that it'll become a disconnected place. So I really recommend, we're doing all these shows, this one isn't one of these, but we're doing all these shows under the banner of the Road to Gilead, because I think that's what we're on, unless we make a U-turn. So unfortunately... this is a bit of an I'm a feminist but. I'm a feminist but at the Together Alliance March, I decided, because my podcast is called The Guilty Feminist, the project we're doing is called The Road to Gilead, I thought, and I wanted, I told people I was going to be there, so I thought I need to have a big, properly printed sign by Pronto Print that on one side says Guilty Feminist, the other side says Road to Gilead, so people say, oh, that's who we're looking for. So off I said to my husband, who does some design, could you make me a sign that on one side says, let's get off the road to Gilead, and on the other side says, like the Guilty Feminist logo, and says, we stand together against the far right forever. And he said, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. He sends that off to Pronto Print on the morning. Down I go to Pronto Print, And what I'd said, well, you might as well use the Road to Gilead logo, because then people will recognise that, which is a sort of red logo that's got a sort of, Gilead-y type figure in it. So I said, use the logo. So just, let's get off the Road to Gilead. When I get to the printer says, I said, have you done my sign? He says, yeah. And he looks at me, and I look at the sign, and I realise the sign is a big white sign that says in big black and white letters, let's get off. And then underneath, there's a sort of rather understated logo. It's a little bit hard to read because it's kind of red and black. And I went, okay, great. And I went to the march with this on a stick. And when I held it up, all anyone could see was other people going, down with the far right, more fairness, equality, men of quality, don't fear equality, etc., etc. Choose love. And mine, which just said, let's get off. And my great friend Susan McComber, who many of you will know from this show and other brilliant TV shows and things, I sent her just a picture of it, and she just sent back a WhatsApp saying, looks very much like you're scouting for woke coitus. Two birds, eh? Two birds. All right. I think it's probably time to start the show. Before we do, I'm just going to say cheer if you think you've got a very feminist job or some kind of side hustle. Side hustle, it could be a charitable action. That's not a side hustle, is it? I'm so sorry to call your foundation a side hustle. Worked really hard on setting that up. You're the founder. This is awful. Do you think you do a feminist thing? Give us a cheer. If you think you have an unfeminist job, give us a cheer. Excellent. I'm more interested in those, to be honest. Who's got an unfeminist job? You have? Great. What did you do? I sell makeup. You sell makeup. Is there any... Somebody here is saying that is not unfeminist. That is my armour. She had a very strong reaction to that. She went, that is not unfeminist. You sell makeup. Do you do any Trojan horse feminism within that job? Yes. What's the Trojan horse feminism? I try to make it more interesting than just selling mascara to 14-year-olds. Go on.
How do I do that? Oh, I don't know.
Do you talk to them about how they don't really need makeup to be beautiful?
Yes,
do you?
All beauty brands do that and don't mean it.
All beauty brands do that and don't mean it. But
why are they selling makeup?
It's true. But do you subtly say... I was once having one of those... those high street... I've never had anything cut or anything like that, but sometimes I go and ask someone to provoke my collagen with a laser or something. And once there was a woman doing some kind of sonar treatment to make me look younger. And I was saying, sometimes I feel this is, I shouldn't really be doing this. It's not very feminist. And she was like, why? Everybody would look younger if they could. And I said, no, they wouldn't. I was like, real feminists don't want to look younger. They want to look the age they are. And she was like, oh, surely that's not true. I was in so much pain as she was lasering my face, as I was arguing with her that what we were doing was fundamentally unfeminist. And I was like, I have never known such hypocrisy in myself. I've paid a woman to torture me so I can explain to her why she's not a very good feminist. Anybody else got an unfeminist job? Yes? What's yours?
I'm a makeup artist.
You're a makeup artist. See, again, I feel like you're doing a public service. Again, what are your feelings on makeup?
If you enjoy doing it, you should do it for yourself.
Yeah, I kind of think it's creative. You can play... Sometimes I feel so sorry for just like cisgender straight men because they wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and think, well, that's as good as I'm going to look all day. That's their reality. They can't do anything or people go, oh, are you wearing makeup? Whereas we can conceal, we can reveal, we can play, we can glitter, we can sparkle. I don't understand why the patriarchy let us have it. They normally steal all the good stuff. It's just weird. And when I found this out, it made a lot of sense. Men and women both used to wear makeup, and then it went out of fashion for men, and they never took it up again. It also went out of fashion for women. In this country, it was Queen Victoria who said it wasn't seemly. I think she was in mourning and she didn't want anyone else having any fun. And then she went up to Balmoral for ages, and no one was wearing makeup. And then some women just went, she's been up there for a long time, hasn't she? I don't know that she's coming back. Do you think it would be all right to have a bit of concealer? And just has anyone got a lip gloss? I don't think she's going to notice. She's very sad. And women took it up again and men didn't take it up. So I say, listen, anything that we've grasped in our hands, clawed away from the patriarchy, that's quite fun. have it. Of course, if you don't want it, then don't use it. It's a waste of time and money. Anyone got a feminist job they want to tell us about? Yes? What's yours? Oh, hold on. I'm just going to bring you because that sounds like something I'm going to find it hard to repeat. I work in makeup. Is it easy? But you take this mic.
I work with the erotic literatures of ancient India to understand and teach women's pleasure.
We have a winner. We need no more candidates. You work with erotic Indian literature for women's pleasure. Would you be interested in coming on the show sometime and teaching us what you know? Absolutely. Great. Excellent. So maybe we can have a little chat do we have an interval? Yeah, we do. Was that someone from the show? It felt like an audience member just went, well, I'll need one. Did you not hear we've all got endometriosis? There will be a fucking interval, even if we have to riot to get one. Yes. If you haven't factored one in, get one going. Fair enough. Venue, there will be an interval. I'm not sure if it's been scheduled. I think it has. All right. And on that note, I must bring on for you my incredible co-pilot for this evening. She's one of this country's most wonderful comedians. She's also a really lovely, lovely human being. Put your hands together and make incredible woohooing noises for the wonderful Heidi Regan. How are you, Heidi?
I'm good, thank you. Lovely to be here. Very excited. Yeah.
Delighted to have you. And you did a brilliant show on endometriosis, didn't you?
I did. It was a show and definitely brilliant. Thank you for confirming, yes. At Edinburgh last year.
You always have such an interesting, offbeat, very funny style about you. I think you're totally unique as a comic because no one thinks like you. You've got a very lateral thought process and a very considered delivery as well. I just love watching you work and I love, no one else would think of the things that you think of.
No one else has ever thought of endometriosis, and I am, it is. I usually do shows about shark films or The Matrix and that, and then this one was my most this is a thing that happened. But it was really good to do, yeah.
I'm so delighted, and we will be hearing a bit of stand-up from you from it soon. Yes, I'm very excited. This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. Don't feel as many people joined in as usual. Some people may not know it. I got the feeling you didn't know it. I don't mean to impose gender on you, but are you in fact a man? I don't want to... Yeah, okay. So when I say hypocrisy and insecurities, you say, and I say which, and then you say undermine them. Okay, you got that? Great. Have you been forced to come here tonight, or was it free will? Great. We're big on consent here, sir. Okay. Ready? This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. I'm Deborah Frances-White. With me is Heidi Regan, and we are talking about a landmark ruling on endometriosis, especially in the workplace. So we're very, very excited to present this endometriosis special edition of The Guilty Feminist today. First of all, before we get into it, would you like to see some stand-up comedy? Then please welcome to the stage the incredible Heidi Regan.
Hello. And on the stage. Thank you. So, as Deborah said, I did an hour-long show in Edinburgh last year about endometriosis and fertility and other things. It was very nuanced, layered hour. I've tried to cram it down into 9 minutes of stand-up for you tonight. I think I've kept the nuance, but if you can all just kind of assume that I've already built a huge rapport with you, so we can just get straight into the good stuff, that'll be great. The story I told in the show, it kind of starts with me very dramatically waking up in the middle of the night in agony. And I get up to go to the bathroom, but I start to faint, so I lie down on the floor. And I realize I can't get up, and I think I'm going to have to wake up my wife, but I'm scared to wake her. Not because she's an ogre or anything. She's a very lovely lady. The reason I'm scared to wake her is I know what the pain is, and I've been saying I'm going to go see a doctor about it for about 3 months. About 3 months and 10 years. Let's get that around the wrong way. The pain is endometriosis. It's a big reveal in the hour-long show, but I think we've you know what's coming. And it's endometriosis. Everyone here knows what it is, but for anyone who's feeling a bit in the dark, I'll explain it so that the experts we've got tonight can then correct all my mistakes later. So endo is, I shorten it to endo because I'm Australian, and in Australia we are annoying. So endo is, as I understand it, where the lining of the uterus, we call it a uterosa. Sometimes we lengthen. If we don't shorten, we lengthen. So the lining on the inside of the uterosa can sometimes grow on the outside and other things, and it can present in many different ways. For me, the main symptom I would get is it would wake me up in the middle of the night with a pain that felt like, this is how I described it to the doctor or people on the bus if they look like they want to have a chat. I said it felt like there was a fist going right up my butt, but not a fun fist, more... a giant fist, like the fist of God. It was like God was trying to use me as a puppet, but not to spread the gospel, to make the puppet go, ow, 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 ow. That's how I explained it to the doctor. And when it woke me up like that, the only way I could get rid of the pain was to go to the toilet, but sometimes the pain was so bad I would faint, and that was what had happened this night, and I couldn't get up off the floor. So I woke up my wife, who was very caring and worried. She came and helped me, and what happened next? I'm not proud to tell you this. My wife had to hold me on the toilet so I didn't faint while I went to the toilet, looking her dead in the eyes, saying, "This is the worst Valentine's Day we've ever had." It wasn't. It was our anniversary or something. And the reason I hadn't got around to going to the doctor wasn't because I was like scared or lazy or anything. I think it was because I think I'm an optimist. Every month, the pain would hit, and I would think, this is the worst pain I've ever felt, and it's worse than last month. And then the next day it would go away, and I go, well, thank God that's over. I'm sure that will never happen again. Fool me 100 times, shame on you. Fool me 101 times, shame on me. But there was something about sitting there while my wife held me on the toilet while I won't say if it was a number 1 or 2. Let's keep some mystique. But something about that that didn't feel right with me. I'm a bit of a princess like that, but it felt like a wake-up call. So I took that wake-up call, and a mere 6 months later, I called the doctor. Doctor said, describe the pain. I said, it's your classic fist of God right up the butt, using me like a puppet, not to spread the gospel, make the puppet go, ow, ow, ow. And the doctor said, say no more, please. Please stop talking. And she said, that sounds awful. I'll book you in for an operation. I was like, just on the phone like that. I was so shocked. I don't know if anyone here has ever had like long-term care on the NHS, but in my experience, the NHS is like a long, dull video game where every level you have to defeat another mini-boss. And those mini-bosses are usually an email that never gets answered, or a phone number that doesn't seem connected, or 2 admin staff saying, one of us always lies, and one of us always tells the truth. You must figure out which is which. But in this case, it just worked. It was so amazing. 6 months later, my wife says, did they give you a date for this operation? I said, no. And she said, maybe you should call and check. And I said, I don't want to be like a dork. I want to be one of their cool patients where they're like, isn't it nice that Heidi doesn't hassle us like the others? They're like, just leaves us to it. But I was like, okay, I'll give them a call. They said, we have no record of your call. And I was like, well played. This is the NHS I know. They were like, oh, you think you got an operation? You must have called on opposites day. A lot of patients fall for that. On that day, everything we say is the opposite. But this is kind of why what I struggle with the most with the NHS is that it's this wonderful thing, but you have to push for everything. You have to hassle and you have to get angry, and I'm a people pleaser. And on top of that, my wife's a doctor, so I was very aware how completely overwhelmed all the staff were, how they're the only thing holding up. So I'd sit there going, in the midst of all this chaos, I'm going to go in there and go, you guys are crumbling. Can you fix my tummy, please? I know it's not like that, but that's what it felt at the time. But anyway, they booked me in for the operation again, or for the first time, depending whose side you're on. And then 6 months later, I had the operation. In my hour-long show, there is now a 25-minute bit about the operation. It was the reason I told the show, because I thought it was hilarious that I wanted to be more empowered when I went there and less of a people pleaser. And the way I did that was I kept requesting morphine in the recovery period. And the male nurse said to me, I don't think you want more morphine. Usually people don't have this much. Maybe you've got a low pain threshold. And I was like, believe women, sir. Demanded more first time in my life. He should not have believed women. I had way too much morphine. They had to keep me in while I vomited my guts up overnight. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I'm going to write a whole hour show about this. I've given you the... Anyway, so got out of there. And then a few months later, I go to meet the head, the final boss, the head gynecologist who tells you what they found. Very nice man. And he said to me, so when we opened you up, this is what we found. So because you didn't get this treated for 10 years because you're so brave. My words, not his, but that's I read between the lines. And he said, because this hasn't been treated for 10 years, because you're so brave, it's progressed to stage 4 endometriosis and some of your organs are stuck together. And I said, that sounds good. I don't want them all loosey-goosey in there, please. Keep them inside, please. And he said, usually we would operate, but I'm worried that I could stab your bowel. And I was like, you need to work on your confidence or maybe impulse control, I'm not sure. And he said, I'm thinking a different plan, hysterectomy. What are your fertility plans? And to his surprise and mine, I burst into tears. It wasn't his fault. It was a bad time. We'd done failed IVF. We were going through a breakup. I was feeling shame that I hadn't gone in for 10 years and not looked after, chased this up and all that. And it all kind of came to a head on this poor man who was very much freaking out as I blubbered in front of him. I don't think he'd seen many patients cry like that. So he just immediately started to go, no, which then freaked me out. And I'm like, I'm sorry, no, it's just been a bad time as well. And he's just going, no. And eventually I get over it quicker than him. I start to comfort him. And I'm like, sorry, it was just a surprise, but please, yes, if you need to do a hysterectomy, that's fine. And then he said, no, I don't think I want to do that. And I start going, no, please, take my womb. He's like, no, you must, please, you must. And then he said, no, I've come up with a plan B, which I don't think he would have done if I hadn't cried. So the moral of this story is, if you want a second opinion to get a man to do something, just cry. I think it's feminism. Thank you, yes, I'm a feminist. So he said, I've got a plan B. And he said, I want to halt the endometriosis for 1 year by injecting you with kind of fake menopause before you would actually get menopause, like a try before you buy situation. And that's what we're going to do with these injections. It is so hard to not sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say, the government is injecting me with menopause, especially when I shout it from a bus. So yeah, basically I just finished 2 years of that. I'm back off the menopause. Menopause, awful. Fake menopause, I'm going to say quite a delight, actually. I'll take questions. I can't explain it in detail now, but if anyone wants a recommendation, I'd say these are my 3 messages from the show. If you want something, a second opinion from Dr. Ball, don't have too much morphine, even though you think it's going to be a lovely treat. And fake menopause, I say go for it. You must try it. But yeah, that's an hour condensed into 9 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Are you going to do the full hour again?
I'm not sure. A lot of it was very personal that I kind of don't want to keep doing it. It got
a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I was going to say, this
were
audience would come back next Monday to hear the whole hour.
Yeah,
So
if I do, I will let you know. So, but you'll have to follow me to know. So
yeah. I don't know if you've got a mailing list.
I do.
Excellent. Well, we can advertise that, and
That'll be
then you
lovely.
can, people can sign up, and then maybe you can just do it just for these people.
Done. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
I mean, you could invite other people too. That's
Yeah.
not.
I only want people who've seen 10 minutes of it condensed and then be like, I know what's coming.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But I think they will enjoy it just as much. Our first guest today won the Asian Women of Achievement Award and received the Prime Minister's Points of Light Award. And at the same time, she was working for a global management consultancy firm when she was diagnosed with endometriosis, had to have urgent surgery, following which she was sacked. She won her action against the firm for unfair dismissal and since is campaigning for endometriosis to be recognised as a disability. Please welcome to the stage, Sanju Pal. Now, can we just explain, this does not look very disability friendly, and I was against the whole thing. But Sanju asked, because for you to see us, we have to be on stools. And because of Sanju's back, she said, no, I'd prefer to stand. But I can have a low chair, so if I do need to sit down, other people are talking, I can just sit down. This was her request. Please don't think I make my guests stand while I sit down. I have to say this. Was this or was this not your complete request?
Yes.
That's so unconvincing. It now looks like I'm lying.
But I asked if I could stand and you said, no, you must sit.
That is absolutely not true. This has gone horribly wrong. Our second guest today is an MP who has represented Hampstead and Highgate since 2015, formerly called Hampstead and Kilburn. She was instrumental in securing the release of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, and she is now joining Sanju's campaign. What a good politician. It's so damn rare. Please welcome to the stage and back to the show, the incredible Tulip Siddiq. Hi, Tulip. Take a seat. Yes, absolutely. No, we all do. So I also want to say that in the house is Dr. Rebecca Mallik. She is a consultant gynecologist and president-elect of the BSG, which takes the lead on endometriosis in this country. And Dr. Rebecca Mallik will be here to answer any medical questions, or when we go to Q&A, your questions. Can you just give us a wave and maybe stand up? Thank you.
And I also just want to say, Rebecca's a trustee of Endometriosis Foundation, and you will have seen as you were arriving the most stunning stand, and we're very lucky to have the founder and CEO, Carla Cressy, OBE, in the room.
Yay!
And some lovely volunteers as well. So yeah, available to speak to during the interval.
This room is pullulating with endometriosis experts and also people with lived experience. Yes. So first of all, can I ask you, Sanju, just tell us about how this came about, your story of how this came about.
Hi, everyone. Oh, my God, what an honour to be able to talk to you, but also quite scary. I was diagnosed with endometriosis very suddenly after I was in debilitating pain. For a couple of months, I found out I had 2 very large endometrioma, so chocolate cysts, they call them as well.
Chocolate cysts?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
That sounds really...
Sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly sounds... Well, I mean, I don't know that I want a chocolate cyst, but it sounds much more attractive and appealing than it apparently is. Why do they call them that?
Because they're filled with blood, and the blood
Like
gets
chocolate.
old and dark, a little bit like chocolate.
This is a terrible story. Keep going.
It's the truth, and we know it, right? We're in a room with endo warriors, endo sisters, this language that we have to hear from doctors, from radiologists, when we're least expecting it. I was told that my cyst was the size of a Coke can. So very quickly saw a gynecologist, Dr. Akaro, who is still my gynecologist. was told that I needed immediate surgery, otherwise I would risk torsion, twisting of my uterus. Told Accenture. I was at the time trying to make senior manager, so I'd been there for 10 years. I was really ambitious. I was running Rise as a side hustle. Charities can be side hustles, and we're fine with that. I cared so much about getting back to work, I went back too quickly, and then I came off sick again. Thought Accenture were being really supportive. They were. They put me on a phased return, generous 2-month phased return. A London restriction, so I wouldn't have to travel. We all know how difficult it is when you're dealing with fatigue. As a management consultant, to live out of a suitcase was really, really tough. So, okay, fine, work in London, good. There was no demand in London. So it's, again, I think of any job that you're in, suddenly, okay, well, there's no need for you, but what are you meant to do if you can't work? I'm on the bench. That's what it is called in management consulting. So I was on the bench, wasn't being chargeable, wasn't adding value apparently, even though I couldn't because I couldn't travel out of London. And then out of nowhere, I received a letter that said I was being invited to a meeting and that at that meeting I may be at risk of dismissal from my job for poor performance. And that was a letter that came 3 months after my phase return, and I'd been there for 10 years. When I went to the meeting, took all my sick notes, took my occupational health reports, told them how difficult I'd been finding things, told them that I was a top performer, I could turn it around, just needed some more time. They said I was fired. And that was it. That was it. Just had to leave the building on that day. Couldn't say bye to colleagues. Couldn't have the big party. I mean, Debs, you know me, my friends in the room. I thought the day that I leave Accenture, there's going to be a fanfare. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
People are going to be devastated. They're not going to want me to go. They're just going to throw a massive party, maybe try and get me back. And it wasn't that at all. And I have to be humorous about it because it was one of the worst days of my life to have to literally walk out the door in complete humiliation and shame.
But they don't even get to give you 6 weeks to wind up or anything like that. It's just your email address gets turned off. And
on that day. Actually, I had 2 weeks. So they gave me 2 weeks to still have access to my email. But like one of the things I've said is that on that day I had meetings planned. And then the managing director who fired me was like, you can't email them.
You can't email them? What,
Yeah.
to cancel the meeting?
Yeah.
Wow. God.
Brutal.
It is brutal. And they haven't, you've told me about the up and out policy that they have. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So I was told that I was a poor performer because I was not accelerating in line with the up or out model. And what that meant is that you need to, or I needed to be promoted within a certain time period, which was 4 years for me. So I was a manager. To make senior manager, apparently I only had 4 years to do it. Otherwise, they can push me out. So if I don't make that promotion point, they can push me out. And it's a bit like saying you're a teacher and you have to make head of department, otherwise you're going to be pushed out. It's a very cutthroat model.
Even if you're doing the job you're doing to the highest possible standard.
Yes.
If they don't see you as promotable, they just fire you.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem fair, does it? Because if you're doing your job very well and you were always getting top appraisals.
Yeah.
Why do you have to go because you're not in a position to do the next job?
That's
At some point, that's got to end because not everyone can be CEO.
I mean, I thought I might be, but not to be.
Yeah,
That's such an unhappy workplace as well, if everyone's having to strive like that.
Turns out, now that I talk about this, a lot of people find it quite difficult to work at Accenture, is what I hear.
And I think a lot of big corporations like that because of those kinds of pressures. So you didn't take that line down. You went and you took them to court.
Yeah.
And can you just tell us what's come of that?
Yeah, so I did take them to court. It was a bit of a long-drawn process. I thought maybe I'd get my job back, so I went through an internal appeal first, really hopeful, massively naive. And then when I didn't get my job back, I submitted my claim on the 19th of December, 2019. And it's been, 6.5 years of a legal battle that's involved a lot of paperwork, writing witness statements. My witness statement was 150 pages, and I I feel like I should publish it one day because it's a good read, actually. So if you can get your hands on it. Lots of hearings, and then a final hearing in May 2022 where I won on unfair dismissal, but my compensation was reduced by 100%. So I got no compensation, even though the tribunal held that I was dismissed unfairly.
But why? Why? If you've been dismissed unfairly and then you've been having to pursue this, which has stopped you going and getting other jobs, why on earth would they not give you any compensation?
Debs, it's called the Polke reduction. It's quite technical case law that says that if you would have been dismissed anyway, in the opinion of the judge, you can reduce your compensation.
Right. So they just made a case that, we were going to fire her anyway, even though there was no evidence of that.
That's exactly it. And that we've challenged that. And actually, we are challenging quite an important part of Polke reduction case law. It's spelled Polkey, if anyone wants to look it up after. I'm making the waves in like legal firms, law firms, because...
You're changing precedent.
Yeah.
So if you ultimately win everything, it will change precedent so they can't do up or out. And also they have to consider endometriosis a disability.
Yeah, exactly.
So what will that mean for women in general with endometriosis if that kind of ruling goes through?
I mean, well, first of all, the ruling has gone through.
Oh, yeah.
So, in case you didn't know, on the 19th of January this year, after a 6-year legal battle, we won the appeal. So we had the full hearing in May. I appealed that. We had a hearing in December. And this year, the tribunal that's called the Employment Appeal Tribunal, equivalent of the High Court, on 3 counts we've won. So the Polke reduction, they've said, hang on a second, there was no evidence to demonstrate that Sanju would have been dismissed anyway. So no, reverse that. Second thing was the up or out model. That is not legal in relation to the Employment Rights Act. The section is 98.2. Again, if you're interested, have a look. Also read the judgment, because I think there is so much to learn from this judgment by James Taylor, who for me is like an incredible judge who finally listened to me, who heard me and heard us understand what endometriosis is. And that's the third thing, that's the most important thing. Yes, endometriosis can be and should be considered a disability under the Equality Act 2010. That is legal precedent. That is legally binding. That is a win for us all. So to your question, Heidi, what does that mean? It means that if your employer is saying, well, actually, I'm not going to give you a reasonable adjustment, I'm not going to refer you to occupational health, I'm not going to take on board your medical evidence, you can say, well, I'm sorry, that's against the law. There's a case. It's called Pal versus Accenture. Maybe I could print out a copy for you, and let's have a conversation about it.
And I actually Googled tonight, just before I came, and I showed this to Sanju, and she didn't know I was there, but I Googled, is endometriosis a disability? And it came back with, it's not automatically classified as this is top thing if you Google it, it's not automatically classified as a disability, but can qualify under the Equality Act 2010 in the UK if symptoms cause a long-term and substantial adverse effect on daily activities. It is officially recognised as a chronic, often debilitating condition with recent case law, and it says, Sanju Pal versus Accenture 2026. Reinforcing that it can amount to a disability. So that is a real landmark thing that you've done, and it's really been worth all of the time you've put into it. But I'm sorry it's taken years of your life, because they should not have treated you this way. But it's really brought to the fore how many women will have been treated and thought that they had no recourse. And so it's amazing what you've done. And you brought this to your MP, Tulip Siddiq. And you were very lucky to have Tulip Siddiq as your MP, because,
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, a lot of MPs, as we know, aren't Tulip Siddiq. So many of them.
There's only ever been one MP called Tulip.
Yeah. So to have an MP that will go, yeah, this isn't right. And so, Tulip, you picked up this baton recently. Can you tell us about what you did?
Sure. So Sanju comes to see me. For a start, I like strong women who won't take no for an answer. So I was quite impressed by Sanju. But I had actually met her once, years and years ago, when she'd received this Points of Light award from some man called David Cameron. But she came to Parliament, and I'd met her, and I remember her saying, this must have been years ago, Sanju, and she said, oh, work is my life. And, you know, it really kind of sticks in your head. And then she told me she'd been in this battle with the management consultancy firm. And I think it was just listening to her story that got me more and more angry, because she had been at work. She had been working really hard when, through no fault of her own, she developed this condition. She told them, these are the reasons why I can't work in the way that I used to, as in traveling or the long hours, whatever, because she was heavily bleeding. And when she's told the story, she's left out a lot of the details, which I've read about, which is excruciating pain, like barely being able to move, not being able to stand up straight, all of these reasons. And she showed her workplace and her managers the evidence. And what did they do? They ignored it. And it really upset me, because it was like women not being seen and not being heard and dismissed when they had health conditions that they can do nothing about. So for me, there was a couple of missions. One was to raise awareness. I mean, we've talked a bit about legislation. Yes, it should be included. Menstrual conditions should be included in the equality guidance. That's fine. But there is existing legislation which says you have to make reasonable adjustments in the workplace. If one of your employees is going through something very serious, has health conditions, has a disability, and big employers especially choose to ignore this. So for me, yes, it's about legislation, but Deborah, it's a lot about legislation that's already there, but when it suits them, they won't implement it and they won't take it seriously. And the truth is, I am lucky. I am in Parliament, so I can raise something. It will be put on Parliament TV. It is said in the chamber. It's in Hansard. And probably the management consultancy will probably see it at some point. So for me, a lot of the work that I've been doing in terms of raising awareness has just been using the chamber to direct it to the government, or making sure people hear Sanju's story, which she can't walk into the chamber and just speak because she's not elected. So I guess I'm being her voice in Westminster. Maybe. Depends which party you stand for. Okay, anyway, won't go into that. But it's being her voice in Westminster, which is the job of an MP.
That's the job, yeah.
How's it been received in Parliament when you've brought it up?
Do you know what? Surprisingly well, which may not have happened when I got elected 11 years ago, but we've had an influx of female MPs, as you probably have seen. So, Parliament's more balanced now. And the debate that was called in Westminster Hall recently on endometriosis was actually by a young man called Jack Abbott, who's the MP for Ipswich. And the reason he brought the debate to the House is because one of his former classmates really suffered from endometriosis, and he had 8 endo warriors sitting in the gallery watching when he called this debate. And I was really pleased to see there was men and women from across the chamber. So it wasn't just the Labour Party, because Jack's also from the Labour Party, but it was people from across the chamber just coming in and saying, well, my wife had it, my sister had it, my constituent had it. So it's actually been received quite well. But one of the things you can't do is, because, you may have noticed lots of things are happening in the world. If you don't keep talking about it, it will fall off the agenda. Right. So there's a few more things I want to do, Deborah. One is to make sure we get better data. The last data we had, which says 1 in 10 women in the UK suffer from this health condition, is from 2009, right? This is before COVID. That's before we left the European Union. That's before my children started saying 6, 7. I mean, it's a long time ago, right? If we don't have the correct data, we won't be able to do anything in terms of making reasonable adjustments or passing legislation. So I want the government to get better data on this. The second thing is, I would really like to have assessors and Department of Work and Pensions actually recognise the symptoms of endometriosis. So if someone comes, they will get the support they need, because a benefit assessor will recognise the symptoms, because it's just not known about enough. So those are the things I'm pushing for.
Have you thought about taking into Parliament those things where they simulate the feeling of period pain on men, and then they stand there going, put it up to 9 and
Do you know what? That's a great idea, actually.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's our next mission, Sanju.
I love the, what do we call this? Do we call it synergy or serendipity? So Over the Moon have just done this campaign, and the Observer basically are all over these, what are they called? They're TENS machines, Noz. Okay, good.
That's what I used during my labour, as in pregnancy. TENS machine, really? Is that what it's called?
I'm not...
no.
That wasn't...
Oh, right. Okay,
I'm not a doctor.
Is it Over the Bloody Moon menstrual vests?
Menstrual vests.
Oh. And Dr.
And they
Rebecca, do
simulate
you
the
know
pain.
about this?
Do you know about this?
I know, but I don't know what they're called. They are like TENS machines, but they are called menstrual vests. So
They're called menstrual
Menstrual
vests. aren't they?
vests.
I'll
Yes.
tell Keir that he's going to have to be in a menstrual vest quite soon.
And, and what, do you know what? And can I say, not just to try one on, to have to do work. To have to, do PMQs with it on. Because that's the reality of our lives, is that we have gynecological issues and we're expected to go forward or see if they ring in and say, I've got to take a day off. Yeah. Because it isn't anybody's fault. It's often misdiagnosed. I shared something with you the other day, Sanju, about really terrible story about this woman who kept being told, you're a hypochondriac, we can't find anything. And then she died. And when they did the post-mortem, she was so scarred from endometriosis, and they went, oh, she had endometriosis all along. And so we need awareness of, like Heidi, you were saying, you didn't know what it was. And sometimes it's scary and you don't go in and get it seen to.
Well, the silly thing with me is I got diagnosed at 18. I had an operation. They said it's really bad. I had another one a couple of years later. And then I just let it, I was like, the pain is endometriosis. I just put up with it for 10 years. And it was my wife saying, you could go get that treated. And I just didn't think, I was just like, you just put up with it. That's...
But I think women, and of course people of minority genders as well, often think, oh, I'm going to be blamed, or I'm not going to be believed, or they're going to say I need to lose weight, or they're going to say I'm making it up, or they're going to say you just have to put up with it. What's the point? Because it's sort of like an emotional subjection. So you keep avoiding it thinking, I can deal with this.
Definitely. I think one of the things I just thought now is that, but the sadness that we carry, like that was such a sad story. We know of these sad stories of women just in debilitating pain and not being diagnosed and being treated abhorrently in the workplace. 1 in 6 women with endometriosis are pushed out of the workplace. There are some horrific stats around, the number of women who are overlooked for promotion, who just basically lose out on income because of their condition. And that's why it is so important, this piece around educating DWP assessors for disability benefits. That's one of the things, if that comes out of our work and campaign, then I think that's amazing. But I also want to go back to the heaviness and sadness, because I know that I feel like there's a lot of us in this room who have to carry this every day, and to have to carry that while you're trying to work or fight for your job, or indeed fight a legal battle. And I know that there are some people in the room doing that right now concurrently, because they've told me, and I can see that sadness, and I hear you, I see you, and I know it. And all I want to say is that the bleakness, the darkness does pass, and it has to. And we have to keep going with this, because we've all just said it's so important that the government take notice. This is the beginning of a very long journey to make this systemic change. And it has to be systemic, because there are millions of women up and down the country who are treated terribly. It is a very serious problem. I would call it a crisis in this country. And that's why we're here on the Guilty Feminist talking about it, because this is the best place to make the change, to kind of get the support. And I feel like I could keep talking, so I'll just stop there. But,
Very good. This is a politician in the making, when you can't stop talking. Look, I think one of the things that really got to me about Sanju's story is that it was 6.5 years of her life, right? And we're just saying this glibly, like 6.5 years, but you've got caring responsibilities. And there were days when I know, like mentally, it must have affected you so much. And I just think it shouldn't have to be that way. Not every woman should have to go through a 6-year battle just to be heard about something that is a genuine condition. And that's why it upset me. It's like, why did she have to go through 6 years before someone was like, okay, actually, you were dismissed unfairly. It's not that you were just skiving. Actually, there was a condition that stopped you from working. So I think that's what really affected me about the story. The other thing, it's something, Deborah, you just said about ethnic minorities. And both Sanju and I are from South Asian heritage. And I do really remember growing up, I grew up in a household where my mum is very forward-looking on everything except when it comes to your period, right? And there is something about, I just never knew the words menopause. Like, I never knew what endometriosis was growing up. And of course my mother would have gone through the menopause. Why did I never hear the words? And why did I never hear the symptoms? And I do think there is a lot of stigma attached to menstrual health. And I don't want young women to grow up in the way that I did, where having your period, stay quiet, it's disgusting, hide away, never discuss it with your brother or your dad, no matter how close you are to it. You can talk about anything else, do not mention your period. And that's another reason why I really feel like we've got to start talking about this, remove the stigma, let young women who are from ethnic minority backgrounds talk about how much it's affecting them and their ability to work if it comes to that.
Wonderful. Heidi, have you got a question for Sanju?
Yes, I do. What was it like going up against a giant corporation on your own? I assume easy, but if you've got more to say.
Oh my God. It has been like the hardest thing I think I've had to do. And I want to try and unpack it. Like, why is it so hard? It's so hard when you are a confident, ambitious woman who believes in yourself and you think you're dominating in all spheres of life, and then suddenly you're told you're not. And then not just that, when you say, hang on a second, maybe you've got something wrong there, they continue to say, not just you're a poor performer, but now let's drag in some of your previous colleagues who loved and respected you at the time, but now want to tell you that you were never anything good at this company for 10 years. And that's what they've done. That's what they did in their witness statements. 6 witness statements, 200-something pages of character assassination. And
It's implausible, though, because they wouldn't have kept you there for 10 years. What do we
Case
know?
closed.
Up or out. But I remember, when I used to go and do, host conferences there, do International Women's Days events, that kind of thing. You were seen as a shining star. And you also were doing Rise. And, they don't let you do Rise at Accenture if you're not doing your job. Rise is the charity that Sanju was running that had
I still do. So it's
pairing South Asian schools with, you say what it is.
Yeah, so we support young people in rural West Bengal to build their literacy. They are below the poverty line and they're connected with young people in the UK. And I started that when I was a teacher. I did the Teach First programme and was inspired to, again, this sort of social justice in me to say, well, I've been going to rural West Bengal, India, on the east side of India, but also part of what was Bengal, Bangladesh as well, and love it there, but I can see deprivation from a young age, and I wanted to do something about it. So I managed Rise on top of a full-time job as a management consultant at Accenture.
And you were pairing young people from local schools here who were perhaps from schools where they wouldn't necessarily get an entrepreneurial program, pairing them with the school in
West Bengal,
in
exactly.
West Bengal. And so there was, cultural exchange. Young people here got an entrepreneurial opportunity. I first came along because you asked me to come and do like a dragon in Dragon's Den for the young entrepreneurs who were doing, social responsibility programs and fundraisers in their school.
Because I saw Deb's, literally Deb standing up doing a great talk at Accenture, one of the best things that was happening to me that day. And I was like, this is a woman I want to know forever. I'm just going to slide into her DMs. I don't think DMs existed then, so I literally just pen and paper. Please, may I have your email address?
I received it by pigeon and immediately wrote back, got my quill out, dipped it in the ink, and the rest, as they say, is fiction. So I was working, and I know all companies like that, all of the big 4 consultancies and the big investment banks and law firms and things that are in the city, they don't let you run a corporate responsibility program like that with a charitable arm within their organisation.
I still don't understand why they had to fire me. I will never understand. And I also never understand why they couldn't give me my job back because I'm one person in it. I've said it before, David and Goliath. I'm one little woman with very large breasts, actually, so I'm not that little. But I'm one woman from very humble beginnings on a council estate in Camden, and they couldn't take me back. And not just that, they couldn't just let it go, and they've carried on these legal proceedings and the character assassination. And on the stand, I think, I've got friends, my best friends from Camden School for Girls are here.
No one from Camden is humble and small, thank you. Had to plug that one.
Thank you, though. I like it.
I also have lived in Camden for a very long time, and I can back that up.
This is why I like you, Deborah.
Co-signed. Women from Camden don't take no shit.
Thank you. She's doing my job.
Yeah, we've all walked home. We've all walked home on a Saturday night through Camden, and you have to learn how to say, "No, thank you, sir." I would suggest you turn around and walk away. I've learned how to hold my head really still. Heidi.
I found out my fight or flight is I just become a 90s Ninja Turtle because I always just go, dude, like that. And that's all I say. And it's just me like freaking out. But I just say the word dude over and over. It's very strange.
I bet that works as well.
Well, they definitely leave. I'm not sure. Yeah.
That works as well. But yes, you're, as you say, you're one person. They could have just gone, this is more trouble than it's worth. We'll give her a job back. She did do a good job. She was there for 10 years. It's a decade of your life that you've given them. Yeah. And then they're not going to just say, okay, she's been sick for a while. Let's, give her this time because she's given us 10 years of her life.
And like to back themselves to be in a courtroom on oath. I had a 9-day hearing. I was on the stand for 2 days. It was like I was a criminal. The way that I was, challenged in my own integrity. And this is the thing I find the most difficult thing, because it's almost like being gaslit, and then you stop believing in who you are and you forget who you are. And that's why I went to a dark place, and I've had extreme amounts of counselling, and I still do, to remember who I was, remember who I fundamentally am. And that is a very challenging thing for all women. All women, we have to deal with that almost every day at work, and that is horrible. And I genuinely wish that they did better. I wish Accenture did better.
Can I say something though, Sanju? This is something I think when politics can have its ups and downs, but one of the things I do is casework, right? And just to say to you, you would have changed the lives of thousands of women that you will never meet. I think it's quite important to remember that, because what you've experienced is traumatic, and I'm not surprised you've needed the counselling, and you should keep going and trying to get, back and keep the positivity, because you've usually been positive and I've seen you. But do try and remember that, because it does really get you through dark patches, if that makes sense.
And it does. And can I just say that I know that there are women who've messaged me and I haven't replied, but please know that I will. And your messages keep me going. And I feel like that, we can say that, can't we? It's like, I've received this really lovely message. It's like, no, in my darkest hour, when I have a submission in the legal battle and I'm up till the wee hours working with my legal team, and it was important for me to do that, I read every single letter on every page of what they write about me. And I know that's almost like, is that slightly like, trauma? I've got like second generation Asian trauma or something. Like, just to know I must read what they've said about me. But it's so that I can then tackle the next stage with my lawyers. And I've done a law degree now. I've got a master's in law because I was like, I'm not messing around here. Like, no. Nice.
Just being in a room with, like, when I was describing my symptoms in my set, and I was seeing people nod as I was, and I've met 2 people with the same symptoms as me in my whole life, because you just don't chat to people about it. But yeah,
seeing people in the audience nodding.
I think you guys were as soon as I went fist. Not to out you on that, sorry.
But when you were doing,
we got some fisters over here. Yeah.
But when you were doing the tour, you must have seen it a lot, that people nodding or coming up
people
afterwards.
came up after,
and it does endorse you, doesn't it? It does make you feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I'm not alone. I'm not insane.
Yeah, and I did a podcast once where I talked about the fist pain, and then someone messaged the podcast and said, my friend just got diagnosed with it because I texted her and said, hey, that's the pain you have. And then she went and got, but it's just talking about more. So
this is where talking about things and bringing things out as the light is so important. But can we ask you what happened yesterday?
I feel like we've galvanised, right? We're like, change is happening. Landmark case, legal precedent, endometriosis considered a disability, up or out model, not legal. Polky reduction, no one cares about it, apart from lawyers. Yesterday, oh my God, how do I say this without getting emotional? Ta-da! Accenture have appealed, and their appeal's been granted, and they're dragging me to the Court of Appeal. It has been a difficult 24 hours, stomaching that. I haven't even told my best friends I couldn't. I went to a very dark place yesterday, didn't want to talk to anyone. Because, again, this is why when you ask what makes it difficult in a David and Goliath battle, it's these moments when suddenly you feel absolutely insignificant again. And if I talk to my counsellor, and luckily I had a counselling session yesterday, and I was like, what am I doing? And she was like, hang on a second, let's just go rewind. What's been happening? None of that's been diminished. It stands. And I want to be really clear. The judgment stands until the Court of Appeal reverse it. And we're going to have to try our best now to fight that and ensure that we win again in the Court of Appeal. And if we win in the Court of Appeal, that is legally binding on all courts in the UK. So Accenture, best be ready. Because I feel like with the help of you people, you wonderful, beautiful people, we're going to battle them with their own silk barristers. You'll know that silks are the highest level of barristers, so they've got one of those now. Against me, I'm not a little person from Camden. What am I? I'm
a major giant from Camden School for Girls.
Yes. Onwards and upwards, the Camden School for Girls motto that I use in all my messages. But effectively, we can't, how we've just gone into a silence. And I think, are we all feeling this pain? Because it's just painful that Accenture have basically said, you know what? We don't care about your endometriosis as a disability. We want to challenge that and say that it isn't. We think the up or out model is absolutely fine.
So how can we help you with this next stage? Because I didn't think they would win. I thought they would appeal because for the company, they don't want precedent set. They want to be able to still do up or out. They don't want to be told, who they can fire. So I understand why they appealed. Did the judge give you any reason for the...
This is it. What? No reason.
They would normally give a reason, wouldn't they, why they allow the appeal?
This is another question about the inadequacy of the legal system in this country. So one judge might give you war and peace reasons. Good. This judge, one line. I think this has real prospects.
And will you have to pay their expenses if they win, their legal costs if you win?
Yeah, so that's how it works in the Court of Appeal. Loser pays winner's costs.
And what might their costs be?
I mean, I do not even want to think about it.
Okay, so
they're the world's largest management consulting firm, and they are dragging me to the Court of Appeal where loser pays costs of the winner. I mean, can you imagine?
So what can we do to help you?
I think genuinely that one of the first things is if you have a barrister in your network who is a silk and wants to help a girl out.
Who would do something pro bono?
Do something pro bono. Working with my existing, and I should say so, my barrister, Elaine Banton, she's amazing, but we're going to need more help. We're going to need more help to go up against Accenture at the Court of Appeal.
The way things get done in Parliament, which I'm sure everyone has realised by now, is collective effort, and it has got to be cross-party. So you mentioned Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe at the beginning when we started. The way we bought her home was, I was her local MP, I still am, and I fought for her, but I had a huge number of Conservative MPs and the Green MP and Lib Dems and SNP, everyone coming together to help. And I realised that quite early on, actually. For a start, I was in opposition, so I had to make sure the Conservative government heard what we were trying to do, trying to bring her home. But if I want to get anywhere with Sanju's case, but also to raise the awareness that we're doing, then I've got to have support from across the chamber. So I guess what I wanted to say is, I would really encourage you to email your MP, especially if it's not me, because I'm already wedded to the cause, right? But the day that we had the debate in Westminster Hall, every MP that turned up because they had had a constituent badgering them and emailing them and saying, this is very important to me. So it's very simple. Just find your MP online and all you have to say is, we think this is very important. There's a number of things they can do. They can table a parliamentary question. They can ask for a Westminster Hall debate. They can contact me. I did say there's only one MP called Tulip. They can contact me and then they can speak to me. And it's a collective voice that gets things done in Parliament. So it's just to say, we have a room full of amazing women here. You should be contacting your MP. So I have some support in raising awareness of this and an awareness about your case as well. I mean, you've set me a number of challenges, Sanju. You want here to wear a vest to PMQs. You want to make sure I sort out the judicial system. You want to make sure that we get more funding for women's health. But I would also like some help in all these causes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for you.
And on that, let's go to the audience. Who's got a question? And can I remind you that we have Dr. Rebecca Mallik, who is an expert on endometriosis. Any questions?
I'm Helen. I'm a counsellor and a psychotherapist. And what I picked up being spoken about here is the mental toll of what you've been through. And I'm also aware, having endometriosis myself, the mental toll of having a chronic condition and having to cope with that, going through delayed diagnosis and what that does for your sort of psychological and emotional health. And I wondered, Tulip, if that is something that you're pushing in terms of the mental health support for people with endometriosis, as well as the sort of advancing physical diagnosis and better women's health in general.
So every debate I've started, when I start talking about Sanju, I make sure I mention the words mental health and the toll it's taken on her mental health, because I think I don't want people to just dismiss the fact that it was 6 years of legal case. Okay, she had to read pages and pages and prep and sit with her barrister and navigate the legal system. But the emotional trauma that she had to go with, I've spoken about at every opportunity. What I probably haven't pushed for, in fairness, is funding to make sure that this is dealt with. But I have written to the Secretary of State saying that he needs to meet with me and Sanju to discuss the case. So that's one thing to add to our list.
Thank you.
It's a really good point, because it's 6 years where you can't really work, you can't get another job. It's almost a decade of your life, and it's not over. They won't drop it.
Hello. My question was about, I've been working to advocate for workplace adaptations to menstrual health, specifically around endometriosis, for a long time now. And my question, just because I think everyone needs to hear it, is how do you wish Accenture treated you?
Great question. Also, I'm so sorry, everyone. That looks really sad. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We've got to. How do I wish they'd handled it? So I think the first thing is they didn't use a capability process. They used a misconduct process, a disciplinary process. And I know that's something that, again, women have written to me to say that that's what they've experienced. So the first thing, you've got to have a capability process. Come on. And your capability process needs to be adapted. If an employee is coming to you to say that they are disabled or that they are struggling in the workplace, and that's the legal duty of an employer. So a reasonable adjustment in my case would have been, okay, we run the up or out model. You're coming up to 4 years, but actually you've been off work for 3 months. You've had a phased return for 3 months. So we need to give you at least 6 more months. Let's see how that goes. Concurrently, we might put you on a performance management plan, not so that we can push you out, but so that we can support you to get to the next level, because actually that's what you've demonstrated for 10 years. That's the first thing. When they actually carted me into the room, the meeting, they had basically not done any checking with my line manager for my current feedback. So at the time I was back up on a project, I was doing really well. Have the decency to do an investigation on my performance if you're going to terminate me for poor performance. So that's another point. And I think, again, they had so many opportunities along the road to just do better. But I'll go up a level, and I think this is some of the stuff that we're talking about. At a strategic level, there needs to be policies in place to protect women with gynecological conditions. And we know from research done just in October 2025 that only 11% of employers in this country have a menstrual health policy. And even the language there is not correct, because not everyone who has a gynecological condition is menstruating. So we need gynecological health policies as, a matter of fact, as mandatory across the UK. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
And that might bring us to Dr. Rebecca Mallik. Can we ask you, if you had a magic wand, how would you change things? Because this is a real area of expertise for you.
It's a really difficult question, I think, to answer. I think if I'm looking at it, I think we've got to look at it from a national level, first of all. And you've already said some fantastic things, but we really need to prioritise women's health. I think that's where it comes from. We can push at local levels, we can push at regional levels, but we really need a national directive from government policy to say we care about women's health, we hear the problems, and we need to fund women's health, because that's what it comes down to. It's the funding around women's health. And without the funding, you can't get the education, you can't get it instilled in schools, across the board. So it comes from top down, education, more funding, more research, listening to women, and putting more resources in women's health and women's healthcare at a local level.
I know from my dad emailing me this morning that Australia's is bringing in like endometriosis clinics, like 30 of them around the country, and like education in schools for it. Is there already a thing like that here? Or?
So actually in the UK, we are ahead of the game a little bit in that we have centres across the UK that look after those with severe endometriosis. So they are BSG accredited centres. But there's a huge disparity of where they exist. So there's only 3 in Scotland, 1 in Northern Ireland, there's maybe about 20 in London, but there's such a big disparity. So it's getting that equity of access for all women. So we do really well in the UK in that we do have structured pathways for people to get endometriosis care, but it's just getting there and getting that diagnosis first. Education in schools, though, is something we really need to work on, and that's what Carla and the team are trying to really embed in schools.
From your experience, do employers generally understand endometriosis? What's the level of understanding?
It depends, to be honest, is the honest answer. I've worked with, I've seen many women in clinic, and I've written many a letter having to explain what endometriosis is, what kind of even just simple things like access to going to the toilet, being able to, just basic things that you would expect an employer to know by now. So there's been many times where I've had to write these kinds of letters again and again and again. Whereas we've got other employers who really do understand and will give sick time, time off and be really supportive of recovery and phased return. But it's just embedding it so that it's the norm, isn't it? It's not just something that people haven't heard about. It's
so
just
we need
what
more
we
awareness, more funding, and more policy so that people understand endometriosis can be a disability and it needs to be treated as such. So if one of your employees went blind, you wouldn't go, oh, we do have a bit of an up or out model. Anyone else got a question?
How would you say we can change the conversation or the way that a conversation goes between a GP or a doctor and a patient? Because if I were to try to advocate for myself now, whether it's in the workplace or in a social space or anything, I would struggle a lot because I would continually think of every doctor who's told me I'm overly emotional or I'm hysterical or I have anxiety or everything else I've been told by any doctor. So I suppose, as well as the referrals and the kind of the numbers around it, how do we change like the language that's being used in those kind of consultations? Because that has a big impact as well, I think.
I know it definitely does. And, I have these conversations in clinic every day and hear the same things exactly that you're saying. It's not a straightforward, you go to your GP and you come and see me 3 months later. It's people have had these symptoms from when they started their periods and they've waited, I think what you said, like 13 years to actually get help. And this is very common. But it comes down to education again, doesn't it? It's education and awareness of GPs so they know the symptoms so that we can refer straight away. It's education in schools so that when you've got a 14-year-old who's got really debilitating symptoms, who's fainting, that's not normal. It's picking that up early and referring in. So it's all about, it all comes down to education and awareness and advocacy. And I know it's really tiring for you to keep advocating for yourself, but it's get involved in the charities, keep a symptom diary, advocate for that second opinion, just keep pushing. But I hope that with the changes that we're bringing in, you won't have to keep pushing and that we will be able to have these conversations. But I think at this stage, just keep advocating for yourself. Find that, that clinician that will listen.
Or do Heidi's thing and cry.
Or cry.
Yeah, you must cry.
Yeah.
I don't react like that.
You will when I'm done.
There's someone with a question in the front row.
My daughter, I suspect, has similar symptoms and doesn't want to have the laparoscopy. Is there any movement forward that, I know the scans are not conclusive, she's had a couple of scans and then it's like, well, we can't see it, but it still could be there. Is there going to be a better way of diagnosing for young people than cutting them open?
Yeah, do you know, I wish I had a better answer to this. But you know, again, it comes down to education and awareness. I could talk about this for hours, so apologies. Tell me to shut up if I'm speaking too much. But the problem
Not
is...
at all. You are an expert who's been invited here. You're a feminist.
I'll settle in. I'll settle in.
You've been given a mic. You're on a stage. There's lights on you. You're being filmed, and you're a feminist. But
this is perfect.
Don't tell us to tell you to shut up.
No.
You literally are the UK expert invited onto a stage. Just pretend you're a man talking about who's an expert on some kind of
crypto.
Yes, pretend you're a man who knows nothing about crypto but has been asked to talk about it.
I can tell you everything about it. There we go. What was the question again? I've gone off. Yes, we shouldn't, no, absolutely. We shouldn't be at a stage where we have to offer invasive surgery for a diagnosis. Invasive surgery should be the surgical treatment. So hopefully we'll be upskilling, and that's a big push of the BSG to try and get people more trained in scanning, MRI. And yes, there are other, hopefully more exciting ways of kind of biomarkers, blood markers, other scans that may diagnose it a little bit better. And I think you're right. I can't remember who was it that said the data around Tulip. I think it was you, isn't it? Everyone says 1 in 10. I mean, I say 1 in 3 or 4. If I ask, I mean, almost all of you here who have endometriosis, you will tell me that your symptoms started when you started your periods. Very, very unusual. Like you said, diagnosis at 50. Oh, I'm sure you were told it can't happen after the menopause, etc., or go have a baby, get pregnant, all of those kind of things. We need to kind of start moving away from that and really, you know, we still don't even know what causes endometriosis. That's the shameful, you know, that's the problem. We need to have more research, and we need to...
I feel if cis men got it, we would know by now. That's what I think. We would know by now. There's a male contraceptive pill, but it's not on the market because it makes them feel sad. What do you think it does to us? Oh, we feel great on the pill. Yeah, we're all over it. And if we can't do the pill because we feel so sad, we have a coil fitted. Have you seen those? Any men in the audience, have you seen a coil? It looks like a mattress spring, and they just shove it in and then drag it out they attach a horse to it, and then they just tell the horse to run, and that's how they get it out of you. And then they just say, we've got a Panadol, if that's helped. Did you take... Oh, someone told me recently they went to get their coil taken out, and they said, did you take a painkiller? And she went, no, was I meant to? Oh, you didn't. Oh, well, this is the time now. It's just like, we are medieval about cis women's health and, you know, people of minority genders who also have those parts of their bodies. And you just go, bloody hell, like, where are we? And a lot of it is that we have not been properly represented. And that is why the work that the three of you are doing is so important. And I would say, Heidi, doing a show about it. It's all these different ways. It's like, where do you hold power? Then that's the place, that's the way that that's your sandwich board, whether you're a politician, whether you're someone in the corporate world who's been mistreated, whether you're an incredibly fancy doctor, or whether you're a comedian. And I know that I shouldn't have put that at the end, Heidi, because I'm like, realised... Sorry, but that's what I am too, so I think it's
right
okay.
at the start, please, I demand.
How can you advocate from your corner? Because it will take everybody. Any final questions? Because we've got to get out of here soon because we're all invited to the pub. We should be busking, filling this silence, Heidi. This is our jobs. Make a joke.
I wanted to bring up everyone should just get menopause again, fake menopause, but I was like, it's not the moment.
Did it menopause you though? That fake menopause?
It was menopause.
But is it gone away again?
Menopause, right?
Yeah. So there's different ways of doing it, but the most common one, if it was an injection, it switches off your ovaries. Sometimes we give a little bit of HRT back to.
I had HRT. Yeah, that's why it was fine. Yeah.
But
I had one hot flush.
But has the
and
menopause...
I'm a cold little Aussie, so I was like, it's nice to be warm.
But has the menopause gone away again?
Yeah, because they stopped injecting me.
Wow. So
But now I'm on the pill every day.
Oh.
It's been the best 3 years of my life. Apart from all the tragedy.
Yeah. But the endometriosis is abated.
Yeah, I haven't had any pain since they started injecting me.
Wow.
I'm just saying, I'm a bit of a fan.
We have a question here.
Hello. This is another question for Dr. Rebecca. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about, I guess, like treatment and reoccurrence. I sort of felt like I am being diagnosed through surgery and having some treatment then, but then that's sort of feeling like the book's closed and that's it. And then over the next period of time, starting to feel like, oh, I'm, starting to feel symptoms of things again and not really knowing, I don't know, like reoccurrence. How do you kind of, you guys like track that by yourself, or, steps you can take to advocate for yourself again after, taking 10 years to even get to the first surgery?
That's where I let it slide after I had the first operation. Then I just sat there going, yeah.
Well, I think what Heidi taught us is don't let it slide.
Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah.
Ask for this. Yeah.
It's a great question, actually, because often on the NHS, which is fantastic, but we see you, we treat you, we just have huge waiting lists. So often it's, okay, you're fine now, let's discharge you back to your GP. And that's because of the big workload. But I think the sad thing with endometriosis, and probably what we don't talk about enough, is that irrespective of however you treat it, the recurrence, so surgical treatment, the recurrence is anywhere between 5 to 40%. So there's a huge risk of it coming back. I mean, I'm sure it's even higher than that. Some people respond really well to medical treatment. Some people respond really well to surgical treatment. But I think the key thing is just monitoring the symptoms, advocating for yourself. If you've got a recurrence of symptoms, going back to your clinician, getting referred to a centre, and look at all the holistic things, diet, zinc, magnesium. There's so many things that you can do for yourself that really, really work. But I think if you're getting a recurrence of symptoms, go back sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
So we've got to finish up, but we can chat more in the pub. But first, I just want to say, Rebecca, is there anything you came to say that you didn't get to say?
No, I just want to say thank you for the invite and thank you for talking about it. I've spent 8 years as a consultant, 20 odd years training, but there's a real positivity that I feel now. When you're treating patients with endometriosis, often it can be such a challenge because you're advocating for patients, you're trying to improve the service. But it does feel really positive. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we push, we can only improve care. So no, it's just a thank you for you guys to bringing it to the forefront.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can I ask Tulip, is there anything you came to say that you didn't get to say?
Well, Sanju, weren't you going to try and be a comedian and say the... Go on.
Try? Sorry, I didn't need to try.
Go on. What were you going to say?
I mean, mine's... Oh, God. I was going to do... I'm a feminist, but... I meticulously maintain a diary of when I first got a grey hair on my head. The first grey hair on my sideburns, that was a sad day. My first grey pube. Who's been through that? That is a journey. And this is very relevant. Sorry, I need to stand up. This is very relevant because on Saturday, the 28th of March, which you'll know was just a few days ago, I was in HSBC just getting some statements stamped for a visa application because I've got an Indian passport. That's another story. And I was just minding my own business, trying to multitask and pluck my eyebrows. And I noticed, oh my God. I did actually have a grey eyebrow, but that's not the bit. Out of my chin. That's an all-time low. Forget about battling Accenture. That was a dark moment, and I just needed to carry on. So yeah, that's mine.
Well, thank you very much. It's important to share as well. It's all awareness.
So mine was we discussed this before we came on the show. Mine was going to be very short. I'm a feminist, but I'm also a Labour politician. If that gets me fired, I'm coming to work for you.
Correct. Sanju, where can we go if we want to continue to support your campaign? Do you have a website?
I've been fighting this battle for 6 years with the support of my family money that my immigrant parents worked hard for. I grew up in a council estate. We do not come from money. We've funded the whole thing. And then a year ago, I set up a crowd justice page, and I can't even tell you the first donation that came through. Any donation that comes through, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I need your help now. We need to fight this collectively. It's really hard to ask for money, but if you can, make a small contribution. Literally, if everyone in this room gave just, I don't know, even like £5, that would get us somewhere. We're going to have to fight this together because it's our workplace rights that are being in jeopardy because of Accenture, a global corporate. And they're sending a message to me to say, how dare you? How dare you have the audacity, you brown women, to challenge a corporate beast? And we have to say, we're not going to take that. We're going to fight this. And we're going to send a message to all the other corporates who think, do you know what? She's just going to back down now. No. So yeah, we are going to win, but I'm going to need your help. Did you know that we've started a petition to include gynecological health conditions in the definition of disability? And I don't know what we're on. We were on about 9,000 signatures earlier. Let's get that to 10,000. And then the government, who's sitting right here, have to respond. No, I'm joking.
I'm a mere backbencher. 10,000 signatures will get you a response from government, but 100,000 signatures means there'll be a proper debate in the House where the minister will come. So if you could spread the word, and I will be tweeting
There
it.
will definitely be 100,000 people and many, many more in this country who will want that. But we need to get it out there, so you need to share it.
And we need to just say that this is happening anyway. So whatever happens with Accenture in the case, we're doing this. Is it the train has left the station? It's left the station, right? We're on our way. So that's just great.
So if you Google Sanju Pal, SANJUPAL, and Crowd Justice, you'll find it. It'll come up. You can. Where can we follow you on Instagram?
Sanju Thinks on Instagram.
Sanju Thinks, SANJU Thinks.
I like LinkedIn. I didn't like LinkedIn for a long time. And again, I want to say, if you've been sacked from your job, LinkedIn is the most trauma-inducing place. And I wasn't on there for a long time. And then I was like, do you know what? I got things to say. So I went back on. And then I think I just want to say so many thank yous before I say the final thing, which is I've got to thank my family. My sister's in the room. Oh my God, thank you. All my besties, 3 of them are here, Nora, Juliet, Shaz, and Dec. I kind of call you my bestie now. All my endo sisters, and you're all there. All of us warriors who are just fighting every day to advocate for ourselves, to be heard and seen. Anyone who's written to me, anyone who's pledged on Crowd Justice, anyone who's liked or shared a post, you have no idea how happy I get when I see a like. And I'm just like, I want more notifications. It makes me happy, thank you. Everyone who has collaborated, invited me to events like Carla. I got to speak in Parliament this month because of you. Your work is amazing. You've been fighting a battle for so long. Check out Carla's page as well, and Endometriosis Foundation. My lawyers, Gerard Airy, who couldn't be here today. Oh, what a legend. And thank you to you, Debs, and the Guilty Feminist family, who I've been following for 15 years. I am such an admirer of you. You are incredible.
I'm honestly mostly a numpty, but I do want to say you're working hard, and the community will support you, and this message can spread much wider. So many people have endometriosis, or love someone who does, or knows somebody who does and cares about them. So let's get the word spread out, and then get supporting the crowdfunder, and also just as much noise as there is online, it's much harder for them to, I think, appeal if lots of people are outraged about it. So let's keep going, support Tulip, support Rebecca in what they're doing. And thank you very much to everyone who's come out. You've been a really terrific, attentive audience, and you've asked lots of great questions. Heidi, do you have anything to plug?
Just follow me on Instagram, and I have a mailing list that will tell you if I do the show or publish a book.
Great. That's Heidi Regan.
Heidi_Regan.
Heidi_Regan.
Don't go the other hack. I don't know who she is.
Can I have a big round of applause for Dr. Rebecca Mallik? Tulip Siddiq MP. The incredible Sanju Pal. And my co-host Heidi Regan. You have been listening to Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Heidi Regan, our very special guest Sanju Pal, Tulip Siddiq, and Dr. Rebecca Mallik. The recording engineer was Grundy Lizimbra. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Salinsky for the Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Gina Decio, Zainab Mohammed, Ned Sedgwick, and everyone at the Bloomsbury Theatre, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com. Thank you so much. We've been the Guilty Feminist. I've been Deborah Frances-White. You've been wonderful. Good night.